Welcome back to Rusty Jeep. Thanks for joining me. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment because it's always interesting to read those. Okay, today we're going to talk about the dirty little secret that bumper manufacturers don't like to tell TJ owners when they buy an aftermarket bumper. First, we're going to go over some tools we're going to use to take the back bumper and the front bumper off. This project took me about 3 hours. It could take a little bit longer, it could be a lot shorter if you didn't have a rusty Jeep like I do. So let's go down here and see what we have for tools. You're going to need an 18 millimeter, you're going to need a T30, you're going to need multiple probably T55s, and you're going to need a 3/8 wrench. I also have extension, I have a breaker bar, I'm using my jack handle for an extension for the breaker bar. I like to use a big ratchet. You can also use a small one, a flathead screwdriver, hammer optional, cigarette optional, PB blaster or some type of liquid for the rust to let go of the threads is necessity. Butane torch, necessity in my opinion, because without this you're going to break bolts and you're going to swear a lot more than I do. Okay, before you start this project, I recommend PB blasting everything. Now, what's the dirty little secret that they don't tell you, or they do tell you but you don't think it's a big deal? To take the rear bumper off on a Jeep TJ, you have to take the body bolt off, and that might not seem like a big deal for people out west, but I'm sure even out west it is. These things most people don't ever take off. That means if you have a TJ that's 20 years old, they've never been taken off, and if this thing snaps, you are in a world of hurt. So you want to definitely PB blast, because this torch is probably not going to help you because of the bushing. You can't really heat that one up. So what I would recommend before you even buy a bumper or do any of these projects, make sure you are willing to go through it if this thing snaps, especially if you're on the East Coast, because if this snaps, you're cutting in here for sure. So I did when I bought my TJ was I went through every body mount bolt, and I took it off. I wound up snapping 3. It is a rusty Jeep, and I expected to snap at least 1 or 2. 3 was a little bit more than I wanted to, but the back 2 did not snap. But I did take them out. I wired wheeled them, I cleaned them, I put them back in. So whenever I do projects, I can actually take these bolts out pretty easy. So if you've never taken this out, first thing first, that's the one that's going to bother you, because you have to take that one out. So I'd recommend soaking these 2 bolts in PB Blaster, and that's going to be an 18 millimeter, and then you're going to need a little bit of extension. You're going to take your breaker bar and you're going to put some pressure on it, and then you're going to use your extension. If you want to use an impact wrench, that's fine. You're going to need an extension, and then you same thing, 18 millimeter, you put that extension up there, hit that thing, and hope it doesn't break. If it doesn't break, you're on your way then the rest of the project's pretty easy. Pain in the butt, but pretty easy. Bolts you're going to have to soak on the bumper now. Now you got the body bound bolt and you put it back in, you cleaned it. Now you buy your bumper and you want to take this bumper off. You're still not in the clear. You got to PB blast this bolt, this bolt. There's 2 20 millimeter bolts that are holding the hook, and you can see my hook still on because my frame is rotted when they patched it. That thing's just spinning freely in there, so I'm going to have to cut the bolt off, and I did not have time to do that yesterday. So you're going to do 2 bolts here, 2 bolts here, and 2 bolts here, 2 bolts under. PB blast those ahead of time, a couple of days. Keep on PB blasting them. And then the first thing you're going to want to do is, before you even start taking those off, is take your 30 millimeter T30, and you're going to try to take these bolts on these caps off. If they snap off, hallelujah, praise be God, because that's going to make your life easier, because then this comes off. There's another T30 on the back side that snaps off. Be happy, because your life's a lot easier, because this thing's going to pop off. If it just free spins on you, that means you're going to have to take a flathead or pry, put some pressure underneath it, and then try to back that screw out. If it doesn't back out, your only thing that you can do is cut it off, and then these come out. Now I have one on the bottom on either side that is a spinner. What I happen to do is since they're not in good condition, I just kind of put a little pressure and pulled them out a little bit, and they passed the bumper. So now I can go in there and cut them off, and I save these pieces, and I'll probably sell them on eBay or Craigslist for a couple dollars. You know, I don't like to destroy stuff just to destroy stuff. So these were saved. Push these off. Once these are pushed off, you're going to have room for these bolts. Now, what I did was I heated these bolts from the inside and underneath bolts with my butane torch. And you got to be careful on this side because you got a gas can. I don't like blowing up. I'm not sure if you do. So if you don't like blowing up, you just turn down the butane torch and just heat the bolts up, and then go heat these bolts up, and then heat these bolts up, and go back and forth a little at a time. Just heat them up, and then go to the other side, heat those bolts up same way, then come back, heat these bolts up again. And then what you do is you take your breaker bar again, and I happen to start with the two bottom ones, and I put my leverage on it, and this popped no problem, and so did those. These upper ones, you're going up on an angle, so that's a little bit harder. You have to then take off the body mount bolt. So I backed my bolt off, that came out, and since you back the bolt out, the bushing comes down and you can reach the top nut. The bottom nut you can take off without taking the body mount off. The top nut is it's near impossible unless you shave the bushing out a little bit, but you can't get a socket in there. So what you're gonna do is, once that body mount's out, you put your socket on there, you break this bolt loose, you break this bolt loose. Once I did those bolts loose, I took them off. I basically put the body mount back bolt in with the bushing, and then I went to the other side and I did the same thing, and then the bumper came right off. Now, those that have been watching my videos, you can see that I've been talking about rust, and this back brace is probably gonna have to be replaced. Also, I saw that, but that looks like someone welded this on. So the more I look at it, the more I see weld marks on this damn thing. So that's the back bolt in a nutshell. So before you buy a back bumper, just make sure you want to do all this work, because I hear people complain. I don't hear anyone ever complaining about that, but trust me, if you snap it, you'll be complaining. I do hear people complain about on some bumpers you got to get behind a gas tank. I'm not putting a bumper on right now, so I'm not worried about that part. But I did want to mention that if you're going to take the back bumper off, you do need to take the body mount off, and I find that to be an issue in New England for back bumpers. So just make sure that you're ready for the work. So let's go to the front one. It's a lot easier, but still a big pain in the butt, but a lot easier. Okay, so after I was done with the back bumper, I came to the front bumper, which should be a pretty easy job. If you have your side bumpers on, you don't have to take those off to take the bumper off, so don't worry about that. You're going to be using primarily the T55, and you're going to be using also a 3/8. I basically PB blasted this a couple of days ahead of time. I took my 3/8, loosened these bolts off for the plastic piece right there, and then I took my butane torch. I heated this bolt, that bolt, and there's one from each side underneath. I did that 3 times, and then before I ever take anything completely off, I took my breaker bar and I broke loose this bolt, the top bolt, 2 bolts there, broke this bolt loose, and then on that one, like she never fails me, a rusty Jeep will bite you in the ass every time, and she bit me in the ass on that bolt, because that bolt just sheared right off in half. Now, I mean, she bit me in the ass, she didn't fuck me, so I'm happy about that, because she broke the bolt in half, so it was broken in half where I can still take the bumper off. If it broke above the bumper, I've been screwed, so, I'm happy that I didn't get fucked. So after that broke, I loosened this bolt, I took this bolt off, that bolt off, I took the rest of the bolts off, I took the 2 bolts back there off, I slid this off, took this off, and this is my sway bar, how it looks. You can see on that side, I'll focus in, it's getting kind of dark. That's pretty rusty, but I tell you what, man, I forgot to mention in tools, headache relief medicine. Invest in it when you're working on your Jeep. I swear, if I get one sponsor in my life, it should be for headache relief when I'm done with this goddamn Jeep. So the most important thing when you're working on a Jeep is, I'm telling you, this PB Blaster and heating the bolts up, especially the star bolts, really make a big difference for me. So if you can do that, I think your life will be a lot easier. If you're a smoker, try to get tax-free cigarettes, because you're going to go through some cigarettes too. If you're not a smoker, good for you. And don't do drugs either. Thanks for watching. Remember, subscribe, hit the like button, and thanks for watching. Leave a comment. I always appreciate it, and they're fun to read. You have a great day now. Thank you very much.